Well, I want to welcome everyone to Earthstock Summit. What is it? Day? What day is it?
23rd.
It's day.
No, I don't know.
It's day 4 here, and we are broadcasting live from the Blazing Mountain Dharma Center here in Crestone, Colorado, and it's been so beyond words. You know, many of us have gathered here days before the event. With the staff, a few of the presenters, and also our wisdom keepers who are joining us from all over the world. And the event began on Monday with a early morning fire ceremony at the Harikhan Universal Ashram. And Tuesday morning was another incredible day. Many of us went to the Vajravidya Buddhist Center. And then yesterday we were in the community garden, and every day is just chock full of different experiences, workshops, hands-on immersive opportunities, presenters, lecturers, and ceremonies and music from people from all over the world. I think at this point we probably have about maybe about 30 some odd of us, and everybody mostly actually from out of the country. So and today we have more arriving. So again, I want to welcome all of you to day 4. It's Thursday, and today our focus is environment, ecology, food and water security, sustainability. And we have an incredible lineup with people like Patrick McCullum and many, many others. I also want to remind you that during all of these broadcasts, you can go over to the breakout room or the after chat and actually be able to interact with some of the presenters and meet other people from around the world. And that's on theconversation.cc. So without any further ado, we're going to get into our program this morning. Again, many of us are going to go to the Shumei Shinto temple today, where their whole ancient philosophy is weaving together art and agriculture. So I'm here again at Blazing Mountain. I'm joined with my sister and a member of the Grandmothers Council, Patricia Aguirre, or we just call her Pachimama. So welcome.
Welcome every one of you that is out there and here, because this is very special. Earthstock Summit really came across my life in a very special way, and I don't want to extend myself, but the most important thing is to welcome Manish, whom I met many years ago at a gifting festival somehow. And I've been following him, and what he brings to Brazil and to the world is amazing. I see the differences and I hear the differences, what in the slums of Sao Paulo, how he brought amazing influence, to reduce violence and everything, just because of his way of bringing these the projects he brings are amazing. So welcome, Manish. So happy to have you here, that it worked all out well. Okay.
And also, I just wanted to say too, the Earthstock Summit, we're focused on full spectrum regenerative solutions for people, planet, and the future. And in doing that, we're not just looking at one spoke of the wheel of what we call the wheel of full spectrum design. We're looking at how all of these elements have to come together. Art, culture, spirituality, health and wellness, green technology, regenerative agriculture, media, alternative platforms and concepts, and equity around economics, sovereignty, governance. And we're really happy to be able to bring you all these parts, the personal transformation from the self, starting to the transpersonal, and then of course, getting our hands in the dirt and doing things. And I just wanted to acknowledge that yesterday we were blessed with the presence from India of Sadhguru, who talked about the ancient knowledge of India, but how it's even more relevant today in this world as we're kind of shifting from an old paradigm to a new paradigm. So without any further ado, you there, Manish? we want to introduce Manish from from Ecoversities. So welcome.
Thank you so much. It's a real honor to be with you all today, and just hearing you, Michael, feel like we are with soul brothers and sisters on this call. I'm right now, I'm based in India, Rajasthan, India, but right now I am in Brazil, in a beautiful place called Flora. University here in the town of Cunha, and we have been gathering. After this call, I'll go different people from around the planet, 35 countries, I think, right now. And so I can share a little bit about the Ecoversities Alliance. It was formed in 2015. I have been for the last 26 years supporting radical unlearning and unschooling processes in India, and many holistic alternative universities from around the planet. These universities are unique in the sense we're trying to, one of the things we're focusing in is on reimagining. So we feel that our imaginations have been conditioned in all kinds of ways, and so reimagining what is higher education.
Well, we're hoping to get Manish back in a moment. I do want to say many of our presenters are coming from remote areas of the world. Actually, later today, we have John and Robert from Uganda. But, in this world of regenerative solutions, we actually have solutions for that too. I'm actually working currently, and he's arriving today with Stephen, who is the person who is bringing Love Pods to the world, which is an amazing handheld wireless technology that can be used to help enhance people's connectivity. So again, I know Manish is in Brazil at the moment, and it might not be the best reception. He's at an event, but we're going to try to get him back on here in the broadcast. But speaking of remote locations, since we have the benefit of Pachamama here, you're from Bolivia and you live in Brazil, and
Yeah, I've been living in Brazil all my life. I was born in Bolivia, and I still have connection there. But I live in Bahia, in the northern part of Bahia, in a place called Chapada Diamantina, which is amazing. And we're working there also on these aspects of the regeneration of the land, the community, education, and having the youngsters and the women basically acknowledge the beauty of everything they have around them, and not to be wanting to go to the big city or to the metropolis on the other side, and work to regenerate that all area. So, and going back to Manish, because when I met Manish, I don't know if he's back.
Yes.
Manish. Is he there?
Yes.
Okay, Manish is there, so let's get back to. Sure.
Welcome, Manish.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Hello.
He's in a remote area in
I'm
Sao
back.
Paulo.
Thank you. I'm in the Mid-Atlantic, so
Maybe if we turn his camera off, we can try that. So while we're here, I'm gonna do some promoting of the event itself. We'll see if we get Manish back. So part of your work in Brazil, you're also working with UNESCO. What are you doing with that?
No. I work with there's it's a big group of people in Sao Paulo that work with sustainability, and that's what we've been always involved with, to bring even to to the city, the awareness of all nature that's around us in different aspects, not only nature as nature, but human nature. How can we relate for human justice? Anyways, and right now in Bahia, it's a biosphere that needs so much attention that we're working on it there right now. Manish, I think it's back.
Manish,
Hello?
yeah, we hear you now, Manish.
Hello?
So,
Can you hear me? Okay.
We hear you.
I was just saying, sharing that there are many, many kinds of diseases that are many different cities here. The very beautiful thing in the last couple of days has been the birth of the sacred versity, which we're exploring themes like death and pilgrimage and
Well, it's really interesting that you're talking about this because, you know, in this concept of full spectrum regenerative design, and I haven't spoke much about it because it's been challenging enough to get, you know, a couple hundred people together from all over the world for a deep immersion of weaving together our various projects and organizations in this regeneration generation movement. But part of it is there's actually over the last few months a forging of strategic alliances between many organizations and people that are bringing their superpowers and skill sets together in order to do the work that has to be done to preserve quality of life here on the planet and for human beings. So part of that project is we have put together the design for what we call ARC, which is the Alliance, the Academy for Regenerative Culture. And the idea is we're looking right now, and again, there's thousands, if not millions of projects happening around the world. I was just in Costa Rica, and there's over 360 eco resorts and ecotourism and eco adventure and Pura Vida this and Pura Vida that. But what we're really focused is on creating a academy that could be a center to bring all these elements together. Like Manish was saying, the whole idea of spirituality, art, and culture, but also weaving together with things like regenerative agriculture, self-sustainability, green energy, renewable energy, wind, solar, but also bringing that into an area that has media. Media is such an important part for outreach and education, but also for curriculum development. So I'm not just speaking like hypothetically, or this is a vision. Right now, you can go to regenerationglobal.net and get an idea of what's on. Are you there?
hello. Hello. I don't know what's happening here.
Can you turn your camera off and see if
Hello. Can you hear me, Michael?
I hear you now?
Yes, I
Okay.
just turned off the camera.
All right, continue.
Okay.
We're going to listen. And Michael, we can just Michael
Okay.
Krause. We'll just
So
go
I
to the
was
logo and have
hearing that-
Manish talk and use less bandwidth on his camera. Go ahead, Manish.
Thank you. So I was sharing that we are engaging with many radical pedagogies in the Ecoversities Alliance. Some of them are centered around the notion of unlearning. So what we see is the what we call the factory schooling, factory university model has produced a monoculture of the mind. And this monoculture of the mind is really steeped in scarcity, hyper-rationalism, hyper-individualism, competition, fear, and fragmentation. And so what we're trying to offer is many different pedagogies to heal this, to reconnect us to the wholeness of life, to seeing life and the more than human outside of the realm of commodification, beyond that. So we have many radical pedagogies around unlearning that people are doing here. We are also seeing that what if we shift the focus from the highly anthropocentric frames that we have, start thinking of the soil. We have many farm versities. So what if the soil is the guru, the forest versities where the forest is the guru, river versities where the river is the guru. We surrendered ourselves to the receiving the wisdom from the more than human beings as well. There's also lots of movements which are deeply connected to bioregional regeneration. So the idea is that we need to, though, reimagine the education system at the core. And this has a few different dimensions to it. So I think the first is what we're trying to do in that is to reopen many definitions that we've been fed and that we have been running after. So the definition of progress, the definition of happiness, all of these definitions, the invitation to reopen and reimagine that. For me, growing up, the American dream was the global South. And so now we're trying to relook at what is the good life, what is happiness. You know, in Latin America, buen vivir, in Bhutan, gross national happiness, in opening these definitions is very much a part of what we're different notions mean for ourselves and our communities. The second thing we're really trying to do is we believe that there's a need to really nurture grassroots leaders. And so, you know, we see young people being prepared for what we call the deadlyhoods economy. You know, every profession and coming out of the university is somehow, you know, connected to extraction or waste or, you know, violence, military, as the core economy. So we need to actually reimagine the notion of economy, but you need a place where people can come and practice. So we want to, the idea of the ecoversity is these are practice grounds for going deep into things. They're not weekend workshops which have been sold around, but they're places for deep apprenticeship, for learning, for building up different muscles that we have lost, different memories we have lost, and even opening up the question of, you know, who am I and what is my purpose? So that's another. And then there's very practical skills in the alliance, you know, around organic farming, natural farming, I think you guys are also talking about that. But how do we create those grounds for people to really build deep skills and take it all the way to where they can envision what does a local economy look like with those skills, and which the sacred wisdom can also guide that economy. So we have, you know, there's a mix of ecoversities. Some have formal accreditation processes. They've tied up. Many do not have that. In the one that I run in India, we have a campaign called Healing Ourselves from the Diploma Disease. And we have tried to invite many people in the regenerative field to look beyond degrees and diplomas and give people who don't have these, people who have been failed by school, people who have been put in the margins, people who have never gone to school, that they have very unique visions and talents and skills and to open up our organizations, our processes for people who have not who are not the winners in the school. And my own journey was even start to question, what does it mean to be a winner in that system? There's a saying, if you beat them at their own game, you lose everything. So I think that many people who are in the ecoversities are really, we're trying to redesign a different kind of space for learning and unlearning to happen, and many different models. The last thing I'll just say about it, what is one of the most interesting aspects is the idea of how do we build radical trust. And I think this is one of the real core experiments of the Alliance, is across traditions, across different kinds of work, across organizations. How do we start to build this field of radical trust, out of which new designs, new partnerships, new friendships, new visions can manifest themselves? So maybe I'll say that, and if we can, if there's questions, we can take some of those.
Can you explore a little bit more about radical trust? I think that is a challenge. How can we go in that direction? Because that's basic. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I think, we're all feeling the polarization that is happening, the kind of politics of dividing. I can give you an example of it, how we've been experimenting. So we have the Jain University in India, which I helped to found, and we've built this field of trust with the, so I was always very skeptical of working with the jail, and actually, the resistance of institutions to want to change. But we built this field of radical trust with the jail administration, with the guards, and with the inmates. And there's all kinds of, I have to say the word miracles happening, which I could have never imagined in that space. So how do we start to create this field? We're inviting, with people to step out of their institutional labels, their singular identities, or their one-dimensional identities, and how do we start to, there's a whole community of what we call shifters, who are trying to bring these different, who are holding sacred wisdom and still have the seed within them, people from the business world, people from nonprofit, people from communities, activists, indigenous peoples. That's the experiment, is if we can't build that, then whatever the technologies we do, whatever the innovations we bring, I think they will only end up contributing to the meta crisis. So what we're really trying to invite is this experimentation around radical trust, and we've been doing that for five days, and that means going into spaces where we can start to, not only create a safe space, but we create brave spaces. We've been talking about what does it mean to create a brave space where we can actually be vulnerable. We can actually shift different dimensions of our
We can't hear you. You have to ask questions now. I asked some questions already, but it's your turn. We can't hear you anymore, Manish. What happened?
So we might have lost the signal, and I want to thank Michael Krause and Mark for doing a stellar job in light of all the talent.
Yeah,
Who's back?
I'm back. Sorry. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm feeling really bad about this, but the technology gods are not on our side today.
Don't worry, just to have you here. And if you want to continue with what you were saying about the trust and what you're doing a little bit more, that would be great, because I think that's one of the basic difficulties we all have of trust, especially in Brazil, where you have the power over and all those, you've been to the slums. So if you can share something about that also, how do we
Yeah, so I
develop
would
that?
share something like that. There's a lot of, things that have been pushed to the margins or even under the put underground, made invisible, and lots of cracks that are emerging, lots of pain and trauma that exists. And so part of what we're trying to do is to work with that, to see that, to honor that. So when I went to, I started going to the favelas 6 years ago in Brazil, and starting to really see the power of the people. One of the things we talk about with one of our dear brothers, Edgar Gouveia, he shared was the appreciative gaze. How do we bring the technology of the appreciative gaze to things? Because we're trained again to see the negativity, to see the problems, to see things from a certain perspective. But many of these communities which have faced a lot of challenge and difficulties, there's a different kind of power that is resting there, that is waiting to be awakened. And so when I went to one of the favelas, I met one of the leaders. He had been in jail for 10 years, and he was doing beautiful work to start to regenerate his community with the young people, dealing with the garbage problem, working with the grandmothers. And I told them, Hermes, you're running a Ecoversity already, you're the vice chancellor. And he said, how can I do that? I've been in jail. Who will accept that? I said, no, we are honoring your work. We're giving you permission. And 6 years, he's taken that work, what he was doing, and phenomenal growth of that, and with a vision of taking it forward. So I feel that there's places in the cracks and the margins which have to be part of the solution. It has to be the way we start to vision. And maybe the people in the center need to step to the side a little bit and create more space for those other visions to start coming. That's what we're trying to explore. But to move beyond what I call the deficit development idea, which is to go to communities, which has been happening almost 100 years, go to communities and say, you don't have this, you don't have this, you don't have this, and you have to follow what our model of development is, and to move that into a way where we start to see that there is lots of innovation, lots of love, lots of possibility that is existing, lots of power that is existing in these places which we don't usually look at. I had worked for many years with the UN and UNESCO, with World Bank, with Harvard, with Wall Street, and I don't have any hope that the shifts are going to come from there. The shift is going to come from the margins, from the cracks, and that's going to lead the forward. So we need to create the spaces, the soil you can talk about. We can create the soil where these new designs, these new possibilities, these new ancient possibilities can grow and start to heal us, start to inspire us, start to move us from, we were talking about this, we need to move from all of this planning that happens in the head to presencing, where our bodies, our hearts are more than human, are in some kind of collective harmony to hold the energies that want to emerge. And then we need to move from transaction-based things, commodification, transaction, to this idea of radical trust. And the third invitation we ask to move from ideologies, like, again, the university trains us into these ideological frameworks. We're not able to then, we see through people through these frameworks. So we need to learn some of these and move to what we call invitations. How do we open ourselves up for the invitations? Many things want to emerge right now. Gaia Pachamama is really trying to give us a chance. So can we open ourselves to that listening and that surrendering and that partnership, sacred partnership again? That's what I think we're trying to create. But we need to create those spaces for young people, for intergenerational learning to start to happen again. If we look around in modern communities, very little intergenerational spaces exist. So many of these eco-versities are really trying to hold that intergenerational relationships with at least 3 to 4 generations together to share and co-create and do the work that needs to happen at this time that we're living in.
Well, I want to also comment here at Earthstock. It's been amazing to watch all the threads weaving together. And again, all these different aspects, like you said, the human, the interpersonal, transpersonal part, our relationship to the planet. And I love what you were talking about. We love to call that social permaculture. A lot of people think permaculture is just soil, but it's also about how our communities. And I have to say, everything you're saying is so profoundly resonant. I'm glad our Pachamama connected us, because one of the initiatives what we're really focused on, and we want to stay focused on what you're doing, we're launching a project called the ARC, the Academies for Regenerative Culture. And right now we have a connection with land in South America connected to the Kogi. We have connections with people that have land in Costa Rica, and I've already been meeting with the Costa Rican government. Also, a property in the Yucatan, we have a connection with Cesar. Come on, camera, a little bit, so you're not off ahead. We like the whole head. And with Cesar Mena, who's the son of Hunbatsman, a traditional Mayan elder in the Yucatan. And also here in Colorado, we're looking currently at 40 acres to start these academies. But as we're envisioning our own effort and as we're weaving together, we're finding other people like yourself that are doing very aligned, similar projects. So it's almost like the global mycelial network is popping up these spores of people who are coming together in these various bioregions to do this work. It's almost like, if you understand regenerative forestry, that these mother trees are popping up, which will help disperse, give information and nutrients throughout a whole entire ecosystem. And it really does, it takes us looking at whole systems, not just towns and counties and states, but looking at bioregions or watersheds or what many indigenous people call river basins. So I know we only have a few minutes left, and then we're going to go over to sparkling conversations, but I wanted to get an understanding, as someone myself with Earthstock Foundation. We've spoken with dozens of angel investors and people who help with startups, and of course there's a lot of interest, like, how do I invest in the next technology to save humanity, and can I get a 300 or 400% return on investment, ROI? And of course, we've gone towards grants and funding and many of these things. And of course, now in the United States, we have the Inflation Reduction Act. But how do you actually fund being able to establish these centers? Because again, we've looked at many sectors, and of course, people have talked about quantum banking, the quantum financial system, the new reset. And then of course, we have BRICS, where Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Iran, and many countries are pulling out of the US dollar as a form of currency related to the world petroleum industry. And of course, then, there's all the cryptocurrencies, and we also know that the true currency is the currency of human energy and the sacredness of our time. But if you don't mind, how do you find the support? Yesterday we had Sadhguru on from India, and he's created hundreds of projects around not the Sadhguru many people know. This is a Mandu Sadhani, Sri Mahadu Sadhani, and he's created hundreds of projects around humanitarianism, schools, hospitals. But how do you get the support and the funding? Because that seems to be the one thing that people can't figure out. There's so many great ideas, and there's land and visions and partnerships and collaborations, but it just seems like, how do we get the funding to bring all this into full realization? I don't know if we lost you or if you're just contemplating that question, because it seems to be a really important piece to making all of these things work. Are you still there, Manish? Well, if you just joined us, we're talking live from Crestone, Colorado, from the Blazing Mountain Dharma Retreat Center. And this is day 4 of our Earthstock Summit. And I'm here with Patricia, aka Pachimama, and we're talking with Manish, who is the founder and kind of spearheading these ecoversities. We do know that he might not have the best reception down there. He's in San Paulo, Brazil. Okay. Are you there,
Hello?
Manish?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the question was, how do we get the funding? You know, so many people talking about all these great projects. How are you, or what's your ideas of getting the support to do these projects? Because it does take some money and infrastructure.
Definitely. So I think for me, though, the starting point for our movement is the gift culture, and it's what I call the skin in the game economy. The skin in the game economy. That's what we're building up with the gift culture. So many of these places, people are putting in. We have some friends around the world who are bringing financial support to this, but many communities are putting their own energies. You know, in my own university, I have more than 1,000 faculty, from indigenous fishermen to farmers to artisans to, so there's many, as I'm saying, there's many other kinds of forms of wealth that still are embedded in different communities. So we do need some money. We need to take that money and compost it back into creating the real wealth. But there's a lot of things that communities have, many kinds of wealth, and as long as if they believe that they can run, I think the two things I would just add and invite, you know, deeper conversation. There's a lot of resonance, I think, between what we're doing. One is that we need to fundamentally question the schooling system. People say, oh, we're teaching regeneration, we're teaching biology, we're teaching whatever subject. But I'm saying the school is designed to teach us to hate ourselves, to destroy our self-worth, because that's what fuels the global economy, is when we don't have self-worth. Then we need to look all the time outside, consumerism, brands, competition for trying to find something. So I think the first invitation is really, you know, you're saying, the reason I'm saying that, you mentioned somebody who's doing schools. So those schools all have to be reimagined. My own daughter has never gone to school. I have a 22-year-old. She's never looked at a textbook. She's never looked at an exam. I found all of those things waste of time, and we need to get onto the work of really regenerating the planet. That is the real homework that we need to invite children in. So that's one side of it. And the other side I'm saying is, we say that you can start an ecoversity with 5 friends wherever you are, because a lot of people are trying to build these massive, I was with some friends in another collective. They have this grand plan to build a huge campus, you know, $5 million, $10 million they need just to get the basic infrastructure intact. And I'm saying, wherever these communities are, do I have a vision of ecoversities that can work in favelas, that can work in indigenous villages, that can work for kids who have dropped out of school and are not interested, can work in the prison? These are not gonna, there's not enough money to support all of these, but there's a lot of love and wealth, real wealth, that can, and skin in the game wealth, that can actually start to get these things moving. And as these things move, we're building this giant momentum field which will attract more and more resources. But I think it's interesting, you know, even for this gathering, lots of people have, you know, we gave some partial support, and people have put in their own resources also to come together here. And I think that's how we're building this larger movement, that we just are giving seeds, but people are generating those seeds and connecting them to their soils and bringing it on. So once they feel from all of these different places, they feel the energy of this movement, they are bringing more and more resources than we can even imagine.
Amazing. And I know we've run out of time. I want to say, let's stay in touch. You know, we are again, we have this umbrella called Regeneration Global. We actually have a quarterly magazine with a publisher from India, an editor. We're creating a lot of platforms. So let's stay in touch, because really Earthstock Summit is it's another event to continue to bring connectivity and weave all of us together. If you're watching, again, earthstocksummit.com. And I also want to mention, we also have our virtual world happening. And after all of these daily broadcasts, we have an after chat where people can go and continue the discourse. So Manish, it's very great to have this time with you. Much love, respect, and appreciation. And I feel like you're my brother from another mother. And just our visions and our work that we're doing is so incredibly aligned. So thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother.
All right.
Hope
Namaste.
Namaste.